Are you ready for some smart, plain talk on politics, Israel, and the law? It's the Andrew Parker Show. Let's roll.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of S2K. The information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial, legal, or professional advice.
Welcome to another episode of the Andrew Parker Show. Thank you once again for joining us as we talk politics, Israel, and the law every episode. And sometimes we have to reach to bring the episode into one of those umbrellas. But we never have a problem doing it. And today will be no exception, as we are thrilled to be joined by founder and CEO of S2K Financial, Steve Kantor. Steve was executive managing director and global head of investment banking at Cantor Fitzgerald. Yes, that Cantor Fitzgerald. And he was chairman and co-founder of CCRE, Cantor Fitzgerald's affiliated commercial real estate lending platform. He was managing director at Credit Suisse, global head of securities, global head of alternative investments, global head of leveraged finance, global head of real estate. The point that I am making, you see, is that he knows a lot about financial markets. And I think steeped in REITs and real estate investments, et cetera. And what we're going to talk about today with Steve, in large part, not exclusively, is the impacts that politics and policy on more the macro level has for global and domestic markets, and how we navigate through all of this craziness, because the last many years, as we all know, have been crazy. Crazy on the domestic front, crazy on the global. How do you get through it all and have such a success as for over 35 years Steven Kantor has had? Steve, thank you so much for joining us on the Andrew Parker Show.
Thank you. I was just trying to figure out how we're going to put this all together as you were talking, but I think we can. I think we can.
I know it. I know it for sure. It's probably more macro econ. Yes, I'm going to confess, I have a bachelor's degree in economics, which makes me one of the most dangerous people around to talk finance with someone like you. I know the term macroeconomics and I know the term microeconomics. We're going to talk more macroeconomics today. However, it has a big impact on microeconomics. Well, it certainly can, right to the kitchen table issues. Steve, tell us first a little bit more about your background. And I had asked you before we came on the air for this episode whether you were at Cantor Fitzgerald on 9/11. As we all know, what a horrific day that was for the company, for the entire nation, of course, but certainly Cantor Fitzgerald right there at ground zero.
Yeah. So I spent 35 years on Wall Street. I go way back to the old Drexel Burnham days.
Wow.
Working with Mike Milken. So I was around a long time. So many cycles, so many events in our lifetime that occur. Like you never plan for, right? And I spent a lot of time in the Middle East, believe it or not, all over the Middle East as a banker. I used to carry multiple passports because I was in and out of both Arab and Israel, and you couldn't come in with the same passport. I've watched it. I've watched this story over and over. It's just with a different. It's something different, but it's there. It always exists. And I probably had dinner with the last 8 presidents. So both Republicans and Democrats. because one thing you learn is being in the finance world is you need to figure out how to deal with either side, Republicans and Democrats, because whatever the rules are going to be, you just need to learn how to play with those rules, and that's just reality.
And one side or the other is not going to be in power forever. You know that.
You sure
Even
do.
though people are calling the death knell for the Democratic Party today, that's ridiculous. They were calling it 10 years ago or so for the
Yeah.
Republican Party, and it certainly isn't the case.
I mean,
Uh,
go back to Johnson, right? I mean, go back to Johnson.
yeah.
Johnson said when he made the decision on the South that he forever changed the Democratic Party,
Yes.
right? I mean, so we've watched this in history. And by the way, I'll even say I've gone back and I've listened to presidential speeches when they won the nomination or when they were elected. If you go back to Richard Nixon in 1968 and listen to those speeches, and you close your eyes, you think it was today.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And Ronald Reagan's speech in 1976, when he lost the Republican nomination to Jerry Ford,
Yep.
he was called down to give this impromptu speech at the Republican convention. He gave a speech of 3 minutes, brought the House down, and that speech could have been given yet today, even with Donald Trump and
Absolutely.
his policies. So
Absolutely.
let's turn for a minute to your thoughts as it relates. I'm going to ask you a number of different questions and how they impact markets, basically.
Hmm?
And then we'll get into a little bit more detail. But we have seen over the last several years, since 2016, the last 10 years, uh, a polarization that we have never seen before. I would say that it comes out of the Obama years, where he put polarization on steroids. It started with the impeachment, maybe, of Bill Clinton, although it could well have been before that it all started. Uh, but when the political parties, when the body politic doesn't talk to one another, or because of policy, because of politics, doesn't that have an impact on the markets because of uncertainty?
Well, I'll take that a step further. I think it does. It absolutely does, right? The reality is that if Republicans and Democrats could actually talk to each other, and actually, I believe if we're going to step back and really kind of go through my political views is middle class America are the heroes of this country
Yeah.
at the end of the day, right? And both parties are forgetting about middle class America every day when it comes to finance.
Hmm.
Both parties, right? And we need to refocus our attention back to that, back to the center, right? Because what's happening today is you got 10% that are far right and 10% are far left, and 80% sit in the middle. But because they're evenly split 40-40, the far right and far left determine our country today, right? Most people, if they really could sit and have a conversation with each other, would realize, other than a few issues, they probably agree on most issues today, which is, how do I feed my family?
Yeah.
How do I make sure that I have shelter on my head?
Yeah.
Right? How do I get my kids a good education? Right? How do I feel safe every day? Right? We all probably agree to those topics. We might not all get there the same way, but we probably all agree. Right? We need to refocus our attention back to that in order to make this country work again and make sure that we worry about the most important people in the world, and that is middle class America.
Is it true to say that Wall Street is controlled by the elite few, and those who invest in companies out there really have little impact on the market?
I don't know about that. That's taking it pretty far. I would tell you that, I've had this conversation with a friend of mine. He's like, well, the president's a great president. Look at the stock market. Well, the stock market's for the rich.
Yeah.
How many people in middle class America invest in the stock market every day, right? What they care about is, how do I put food on my table? So that's a game that we talk about. We love to hear about what's the Dow doing, right? But at the end of the day, most Americans either don't invest or don't understand. The real crime in this country is that the lack of knowledge for middle class America to understand the financial products that they're buying and are being sold to them. And we need to work that out. We need to empower America to understand that that is important, and then we need to teach them, because they want to learn, they want to ask the right questions, they want to understand when they buy a life insurance policy, what does that mean, right? Or when I get a mortgage, what does that mean? What is a variable rate mortgage? How does that work? How many years? How's a reset? All those things are important to everyday people that have more effect on them than most of the things that we deal with, including the stock market. And that's
And,
where we really need to focus.
and and if you have an interest, you're a middle class American, and you have an interest in learning, in elevating your understanding, so that you can get money to work for you. Who do you call? How do you get a hold? What do you look it up in the yellow pages? Do they even have the yellow pages anymore?
They don't. And by the way, I think everything's done by Chat GPT, so you could just call Chat, my good friend Chat. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
right?
Let chat invest your money. Oh boy.
Right? No, but look, hopefully you get good financial advisors, right? At the end of the day, right? They're very important to people, right? They're the person that is. But even with great financial advisors, and everybody's entitled to have a great financial advisor, right? Even with that, you need to learn yourself at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you have to take the time. We're creating something called Empowering You, and we're going to create almost things like this to actually try to teach America about issues that every day that they just don't know. And they don't know, right? Because they haven't been taught. We teach social studies in school about what happened in the 1500s, but we don't teach economics, you know, all the things that you have to live everyday economics or everyday finance to get through life. You know what
Yeah.
the greatest invention of all time is?
Mm.
Compounded interest. Greatest invention of all time, right? How many people understand that? If I get a dollar 10 in 1 year, $1.21, no one really understands that, right?
And without doing anything, that dollar is working for you.
It's working for you. It's where you wake up in 7 years, you might have doubled your money if you're lucky.
For doing
Think
nothing.
of nothing. You just got to go to sleep and wake up, right? Right. So, I mean, those are the simple things that we need to teach Americans about because they want to know. We cannot keep them in the dark. Middle class America doesn't want to be kept in the dark, and we shouldn't keep them in the dark.
Talking to Steve Kantor, CEO and founder of S2K Financial. We're talking, let's get back to talking a little macroeconomics. Uh, there was a time period where I thought, I was just a genius. Now I feel like I'm a dunce. But when I thought I was a genius, I thought that the president and macroeconomic, fiscal policy out of Washington, D.C., controlled the economy. And you could, whoever the president was that we elected, could control the economy. And I kind of thought at one time that Keynesian economics, and you apply liberal fiscal policy, it's going to drive the economy to great ends. But then I realized, maybe Milton Friedman is right. So my question to you, Steve, is there a Trump effect? I mean, does Donald Trump really affect the markets?
Well, he can. Look, I mean, tariffs do.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
my
what I was
my
going to say.
my,
Tariffs.
my daughter just went to get a wedding dress, and they told her there's a tariff on her wedding dress.
Wow.
I mean, I
Wow.
mean, you tell me. So does. I mean, that's crazy, right? But it has an effect on somebody who's just trying to get by at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
That tariff makes a difference. The tariffs do make a difference, right? Interest rates do make a difference. Go get a mortgage, right? Now, we lived in a zero interest rate environment. That was
Yeah.
great to get a mortgage, but for old people that were living on fixed income, that was awful.
Yeah.
So, I think you got to wake up every day and say, given what's been out there, how do I deal with it? How do I deal with what it is, whether it's a low interest rate environment, a high? My first mortgage when I years ago was at 14%.
Yeah.
Right. So when you tell me it's now 5, I feel good. It was 2 before, but
Yeah.
it depends what we got a whole generation of people that only know a zero interest rate environment.
Yeah.
Right. So, some deals don't work. There's less housing, there's less building, there's less moving. Right. And like it or not, and here's the crazy part about this world. The crazy part about this world is given AI and Chat GPT, jobs are going away.
Yeah.
What really keeps people employed is the real estate market, right? Building homes, right? We lack housing in America by a big number, right? If you have high interest rates, people don't buy homes because they can't
Yeah.
afford to take a mortgage. So yeah, does it have an effect? It absolutely has an effect, right? And the effect is the pocketbook every day. How do I live and where do I spend my money?
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Are you a business owner? Are you losing sleep because you feel your partner isn't carrying their weight or because you no longer share the same vision or values? Are you no longer comfortable going into your own office? Are you walking on eggshells in the company you built? This is Chris Daniels, founding partner of Parker Daniels Keyboard LLC, a premier litigation law firm headquartered in downtown Minneapolis. For more than 30 years, I've specialized in business litigation and have helped hundreds of business owners resolve troubling business disputes. As a former certified public accountant, I get to the heart of the dispute, including financial issues. Business divorce can be messy, time-consuming, and costly, but doing nothing can cost you a lot more. Not just money, but emotionally, physically, and in your personal life. If you and your business partner no longer see eye to eye and you're eager to take a proactive approach and make a change, please call me at 612-355-4100 and schedule a consultation. Or visit our website at www.parkerdk.com.
Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investment, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you. So what are your comments or thoughts as it relates to the Fed? There's big debate, disagreement on it, both in terms of should we have a Federal Reserve? And secondly, how are their policies currently?
It's so complicated, right? I think the world is not so simple anymore, right? You look at these numbers, and depending how you want to look at the numbers, you could be right or wrong. Yeah, should we drop interest rates? Are we worried about inflation? Right? The biggest question I ask myself every month is, what is the real employment rate in this country? I can't tell. I hear numbers. Oh, the employment's gone up. How is it possible? Jobs are going to be taken away and continue to be taken away. I mean, we have that issue in this country that we have to deal with. We have a workforce that a lot of those jobs will be history in the next 5 years. How are we going to retrain these people? What happens to the people going to college? Do we really need college anymore? Do we not need college anymore? What are we teaching kids in college today? Should we go back to the days when I grew up, when you learned how to, you went to shop and you learned how to put woodwork? We still try to get an electrician, try to get a plumber, right?
Yeah.
Are there enough jobs? If Trump gets his way and throws every illegal out of the country, who's going to take the jobs of doing all the other things that they're doing today?
Yeah.
Right? You can give a guy $15 an hour. He's still not taking that job. Right? So there's so many, it is impossible to be the president. It's impossible, right? I would never take that job, nor would ever want that job, right? It is not a simple answer. Some of it's just timing. But do we have problems in this country? Yes. Do we have any less problems anywhere in the world? We probably the same or less, right? They have far bigger problems in Europe and Asia than we have. So every day you learn, and every day is different from the day before. And I think if you want to be in finance or you want to think about it, you just got to adjust consistently. You can't worry about why you got there. Remember, I don't know if you remember years ago in real estate, they changed the tax law and it destroyed real estate for like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, the guy who woke up and owned that piece of real estate, who played by the rules, did he do anything wrong? He didn't. But they changed the rules on him. I used to say the best day in life is when Congress is out of session. Right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You just got to try to adjust and try to adjust as you go forward and understand that there's so many factors. What are you playing for?
Well, and right off of that important answer, I just have to have your opinion on the government shutdown. Does it matter? I mean, maybe it's a good thing that the government takes a break.
It matters to the people who aren't working and are probably going to get fired. That's who it matters, right?
No paycheck.
I went to law school in D.C. and worked for the government, right? The question is, what happens to those jobs? Do you need all those jobs? And if you don't need all those jobs, what happens to those people, right? It's so easy to sit there and make comments about we don't need X or we don't need Y, but we're dealing with real people and real families, right? And so if you have any kind of heart, you have to worry about these, these people that have spent their whole life doing stuff, and at 55 years old, you're going to fire them with no chance of getting another job.
All right, let me throw a few comments at your heart. So we got heart for these people, but we also understand the economic impacts of having twice as many people as you need in a fiscal market. And when you have that, it creates inefficiencies, and inefficiencies drive up costs. And it creates a big lag between supply and demand. So isn't it appropriate for there to be winners and losers, efficient operators, those who aren't? If you're making a product people want, you stay in business. If you aren't, you go out of business, and people lose jobs. That's what capitalism is. That's what
It
free
is, it
markets
is,
are.
it is, but there's something called unemployment, right? And as a society, we have decided, correctly or incorrectly, that we will help support people when they are unemployed. So it's not free that you have a workforce that's not working, right? Now,
No, but if
you
they're
brought up
unemployed, they'll get jobs in a new
well,
market
I'm
that
not
is
sure.
needed.
I'm not sure, but let's talk about another issue, which could help the situation, right? I went from working at a large corporation to a small business owner. It is impossible in this country to be a small business owner.
It ain't
It is
easy.
it is
It ain't
so hard,
easy.
right? And so if you really want to what made America a great country is the ability to create businesses and let people be entrepreneurs, right? That's what
Yes,
made this
yes,
country great. We need
yes.
to bring that back. We need to make it so people can
Small
take a
business, the
chance.
backbone of America.
Correct. Correct. We need to
No
bring
doubt.
it back for them that these people, they might fail, but they got
Yeah.
to be given a chance. Because we don't give them a chance, they're going to be unemployed because big businesses, they have to be efficient also. They can't hire all these people.
No.
So we need to bring back the help. Try to go get a loan that you don't have to put your house at risk if you have a small business. You
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
right? That's crazy. We're supposed to help people be who we have the most creative country in the world. We have the most creative people in the world. Let's take a shot at these people. Let's give them a chance. Let's
Yeah.
help them build businesses.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and
And that's capitalism. That's capitalism.
it is. It is. It is small business. Those people who get fired by the federal government can go get a job at a 10-person law firm after they
Correct.
graduate law school.
Correct.
I love it. All right, let me ask you about pull back a little bit and ask you about some of the global
I get
markets
very
and the
emotional
impacts.
about this, as you can tell.
Yeah, I
It's
love it.
very
I
it's,
love it. That's what this show is about. So listen, I read earlier this week that with a byproduct, with Trump's quote unquote peace plan, and I put it in quotes because it may be a plan. I don't know if it's a plan for peace. There's a lot of illusory peace in the Middle East. In any event, his peace plan brought with it the highest market in stock market in Israel in its short history. And do uh, conflicts, wars in different areas around the world affect markets so directly?
they
Certainly in
do.
Israel, it does.
Uncertainty does, right? I mean, what affects markets more than uncertainty, right? The
Yeah.
market can adjust to things that it knows about. It can't adjust when it doesn't know. And so, the threat of war, wherever it is in the world that can affect things, affects markets, like it or not, right? Ukraine, go to Ukraine as well, right? I mean,
Mm.
these things in Russia, and when China says they're going to go after Taiwan, whatever it
Mhm.
is, they affect markets because that uncertainty kills people. No one likes uncertainty.
Yeah, and the oil prices, the bombing of Iran, and the impact that might have. Did you do any work in your? I know you were head of global markets, et cetera. You had to be looking at some of these issues in some of your previous jobs with corporate America.
Every day. Every day. Look, whether you like it or not, we're a global world today, right? We like to live in our little bubble, but we can't, right? And I used to say every day I went to sleep, and I had the ability. I'd get a call somewhere in the world, whatever time it was. I'd wake up, have the conversation, go back to bed, and remember the conversation when I woke up in the morning, right? But the reality was the markets are 24/7, and something goes on somewhere everywhere, right? And so it is a very tough business being to being a global bank, or even trying to figure out, not as a global bank, what happens globally, because like it or not, whether it's an asset, a deal, or your client, someone's associated somewhere overseas. Always is, right? And so, you know, how they adjust to things. Money was, is money going to come out of those countries to the U.S. because it's a safe harbor? Is the U.S. a safe harbor anymore? Is gold going to be that, or is it crypto? Right? All these questions every day are complicated questions, right? That people take bets on them every day. Now, and I always say, I can't answer those questions for you, but if I had to give one recommendation, diversify whatever you're doing, because you're going to be right a lot and you're going to be wrong. And I don't care who you are, you're never right 100% of the time.
Yeah, for sure. And as uncertainty increases, even more reason to diversify. Steve, great discussion. Very interesting. I wanted to ask though, what you're doing now, and tell us a little bit about S2K Financial.
So we are in the business of either for ourselves or third party that we think are great third parties, raising capital for them, and for ourselves in things that we think fit macro trends, right? And I'm a big macro trend guy. For a while, I kind of semi left the business, and my macro trend was brand content and talent. And so I, as one of the founders, and tried to started Avion Tequila.
Cool.
I work with a guy named Simon Fuller from American Idol, and I still believe that brand content and talent has real value. You wouldn't be doing this if you didn't believe the same thing, right?
Yeah,
Right?
baby.
Right? I mean, that's just the reality, right? It is. People, brand and content and talent are everything, right? That's what you got. Today, I'm a big fan of. I said earlier, I worry every day about AI. And I
Yeah.
worry about it because it's an unknown, right? We know it's going to have an effect. Chat has become my best friend, right? The reality is it's very good and getting better, right? And so you have to add value or find something that adds value going forward. Here's what I know. I'm looking, you got a very big computer in front of you. I don't know if you camp, but how many nights can you sleep under that computer?
Uh-uh.
Camping to me is I open the window at a Four Seasons. So I don't
Yeah.
camp, right? The reality is you can't. But here's what I know. Every night when you go to bed, you need shelter. You
Yeah.
need shelter. And America lacks shelter. So my macro trend that I'm wound up about these days is, how do you create housing in the proper markets for people that need housing?
Wow. Very interesting. And what are you doing to touch that interest?
Well, we've been buying land in some what we believe have been some good markets. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're in Bozeman, Montana. Looking at a project now in Paradise Valley, and so we're finding what we believe where people want to be. I'm a New Yorker. I moved to Florida. No,
Yeah.
if you ask any one of my friends, that would have been listen to me. I'm a New Yorker, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I live in Florida now, right? I mean, I kid with my friends from Georgia that I live in the South now. They're not in the South. I'm in the South. We're south of Georgia,
Yeah.
right?
Darn right.
Right. And so, but people have realized after the and I think the pandemic changed everything, right? It made people realize that you don't have to be in one place. You can move your business and you can move yourself to places that have a better work play environment. And that's what people are looking for. They want to raise their families where they can go out every day, do their stuff. You live in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like it's too cold for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Straight up. Four Seasons, though. Love the Four Seasons.
So look, if I had my way, I'd live in 3 or 4 different places to get the seasons, but I don't. But I travel enough that when I want the cold, I can get the cold. But every day I wake up, it is so nice to wake up, even in the winter, it's 65, 70 degrees with a
Yeah.
jacket on. Now I'm cold at 70 degrees. It's cold. So yeah.
Yeah.
But that you
Listen.
get a choice. Everybody gets a choice. Minnesota's beautiful, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But everybody gets a choice where they want to live now. And you can work and live in places that fit what you want for your life.
Well, I'm a little bit crazy.
Choice.
I'm a little crazy. I live downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota. Ground zero
Yeah.
to the hellhole. Billions of dollars of property damage. and
But
we're
they have
still
a nice
digging
stadium.
out of it.
They have a nice stadium. The stadium's a beautiful stadium.
Oh, it's a beautiful stadium. We got a few beautiful stadiums, in fact, up here. Steve Kantor, founder and CEO of S2K Financial. Steve, thanks so much for joining us on the Andrew Parker Show. It has been a treat. I hope I can have you back. Things are going to continue to happen in global markets, in domestic, from domestic policy as well as foreign policy. And we'd love to have you back on the show as they do.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You have a great day and a good holiday.
Yeah, good yontif to you as well, Steve. L'shana tova. And until next time, this was episode, 424, something like that. And text us, 952-522-2818, 952-522-2818. Text us if you disagree. Text us if you agree. If you've got an idea for a guest, I mean, I can't imagine that it can trump what we have done on this show over the last 420 plus episodes, all the way from Rudy Giuliani to Ben Shapiro to Amy Klobuchar and in between. We've had them on the show and we'll continue to for you. So keep pulling us down. Yeah, subscribe. Go to theandrewparkershow.com. One word, theandrewparkershow.com. Start with theandrewparkershow.com and subscribe. Follow us. Go to the YouTube channel. Pull us down. Until next time, be kind to your neighbor. For more Smart Plain Talk, go to theandrewparkershow.com. Learn about all of your listening and viewing options. And remember, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. This episode of The Andrew Parker Show is sponsored by Parker Daniels Keyboard and True North Private Investments. Mark Twain once quipped, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. When you are lied about and it spreads, the resulting mayhem and destruction can be, and often is, disastrous." Hi, this is Andrew Parker, co-founder of the Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm. I recently handled a high-profile defamation lawsuit on behalf of a luxury home real estate agent whose business was decimated by falsehoods spread about him. After nearly 2 years of litigation and 2 weeks of trial, the jury came back with a verdict of more than $2 million for our client. Parker Daniels Keyboard. We litigate cases, we try cases, and we win cases. With a record of excellence in achieving extraordinary results, Parker Daniels Keyboard lawyers have consistently won huge verdicts for its clients in the areas of defamation, civil rights violations, regulatory battles, and intellectual property theft. For wise counsel and winning results, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard, premier law firm in downtown Minneapolis. Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investment, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you.